What about the gap in the stall door? What? Do you usually like go to that little gap and like look through it and try to see what genitals people have? If so, that says more about you than it does about me. Welcome everybody. Thank you for coming in, Tony. 138 bones. Have you counted the amount of bones in your body? Are you sure that you only have 138? You might have more, you never know. Some people have extra bones. Some people are missing bones that other people have. It's wild shit. You look at a skeleton, you're like, there's one human skeleton, but there's not. There's two base human skeletons with like different amounts of ribs, and then like among those, there's like a lot of variation. Skeletons are all weird and wacky. We don't have the same bones. We all got different bones. Which I always just assumed we had the same bones. But realizing that the skeletal structure of human beings varied wildly was a little disturbing to me. Like, I just thought it was a fixed thing. It was like a permanent part of my reality. Nope! People's bones are just different sometimes. Weird shit, right? So, as you can see, the title above me, I am transgender. I'm a transgender woman. I'm one of the transgendereds. I'm a trans Gengar gal. And so, I like to do these every once in a while, where you can just ask me anything that you want to. And I might answer it. I'll probably answer it. That's not a question. That's just a stupid thing to say, infamous lick. But I am here to answer questions. You can also request to be a guest, and we might have a little conversation. That's fine too. How's everybody doing today, though? You know, speaking of trans issues, we got some good news because I don't know if you all have been watching. I think that you're beautiful. Thank you. I don't. Here, we got questions here. Let's go. I don't want to assume, so what are your pronouns? She, they. Those are my pronouns. So you can refer to me with feminine pronouns like she, her, hers, or you can use generic pronouns like they, them, theirs. Whichever you prefer. Hey there, I was wondering if you could give a little update on how things are. Well, things are going well for me. I guess it depends on what you mean by how things are, like how my life's going, how things are going for the queer community. Just depends on what you mean by that. Do you think people should be able to change their race like their gender? Do I think people should be able to? I have no idea. Are people able to? No. That doesn't seem like the sort of thing that you can change. Have you ever acted as a gargoyle in a scary movie scene? No, but I would love it if they would do a reboot of the cartoon, the Disney cartoon Gargoyles. That'd be pretty dope, and I'd be happy to be an actress in that. Do I support SUIII? I don't know what that is. My day's going very well, but I am not a man. Well, he, and he wouldn't even be proper pronouns. The reason why people list 3 pronouns is because those are the 3 different ways of using pronouns, and they have variations on the words. A little confused, what were you born as? Sorry, not trying to be mean. You're not necessarily being mean by asking that, don't worry about it. And it's okay to be a little bit confused. So I'm a transgender woman. So that means I was assigned male at birth, but I identify as a woman, and so I've been making changes to my body and to the way that I live my life to transition. And so you know, I've been my sex characteristics are changing. I'm taking hormones, so my internal body is different. It's changing the way that my external body is. I'm growing these boobies, got some girls coming in. My face looks a lot different than it used to, and it just keeps changing over time. So yeah, I was assigned male at birth, but I'm a woman. Low impact question, what lipstick are you wearing? I am wearing Everbloom. I believe it's L'Oreal. I don't know. It's a very commonly available brand. It might be CoverGirl. And it's called Everbloom. It's just a really neutral, orangey pink color. So many people are interested in your pants. Yeah, unfortunately, when we do one of these things, a lot of the discussion seems to revolve around within my pants. And it's really interesting because the transphobes are always the ones that want to talk about and ask about and know things about my genitals. So I'm sure that's just a coincidence that these people are propping into the lives of trans folks that they're doing on TikTok and asking about what's in their pants. I'm sure there's nothing suspicious going on there. Thank you. I'm glad that you love the lipstick. It's one of the shades that I use more than any others. It's super versatile. Really love it. Do I honestly believe I'm a woman? Yes, I'm a woman. That's what I just said. 41% isn't enough. So do you guys know what people mean when they say 41% isn't enough? Or they say, like, you know, make it, bump up those numbers, those are rookie numbers, anything like that. Do you guys know what's actually meant by that? So 41% supposedly is the rate at which trans people commit suicide, or maybe trans youth, something like that. I forget what the exact statistic is. And so when they're saying 41% isn't enough, they're saying that they want more trans people to unalive themselves. So when you see someone saying something like that, now you know what they're saying. Real great dudes, huh? Yeah, and it's not enough. So why exactly do you want... And I'm curious to hear, if there's mods, please don't get rid of them right now. I want to hear them out. So, Andy Semite. Wow, what a name. Would you explain to me why it is that you believe that more trans people should unalive themselves, please? I am eager, Andy Semite, to hear your answer. Why do you think it is? What do you think is a suitable age to start hormone therapy? That differs from person to person. So I know a lot of people are worried about like really young kids going on HRT. That's not really a thing that happens. Folks are also worried about teenagers going on HRT. That's pretty rare. I don't know anybody that was ever on HRT when they were a teenager. I know some people who were given puberty blockers when they were teenagers to delay puberty. Puberty blockers, though, aren't permanent. All that they do is they stop puberty from happening at that time, but puberty will occur when the puberty blockers stop. So when they turn 18, they'll stop taking those, and then as adults, they choose whether to go on hormone replacement therapy or have the adolescence congruent with their assigned sex at birth. So that's how it typically goes. My opinion is that's usually the best way to do it, is just make sure that trans kids don't have to go through the adolescence that they aren't really meant to go through that would be bad for them. Give them the chance to choose that when they're 18. So to directly answer your question, I think that 18 is a suitable age for most people to start hormone replacement therapy. But I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor. There may be exceptions to that. That's what my opinion is. Let's see if we ever got an answer. From Andy Semite. This isn't a debate, it's a lecture. Andy Semite, you gonna answer the question? No? I'm scrolling through, and I see that you're still here and still responding. But you can't answer the question. Oh, I scrolled up. But you never said why you want more trans people to unalive themselves. Why don't you go ahead and tell us? Yeah, thank you, Naaman Illidan. That's a funny name. But yeah, no answer at all. We still haven't heard it. Years ago, I was very homophobic and transphobic. No longer. I wasted so much time and love to give. That was from California Girl 1999. Hey, I can identify with that. I used to be extremely queerphobic and transphobic and all of that. I grew up in like conservative, evangelical, religious household, and I really got indoctrinated into the far-right movement from a very young age, and I worked in that movement for a long time. I've been a lobbyist for far-right organizations. I've been an activist for far-right causes. There was a time in my life where I would have considered myself a pro-life, pro-family activist, which really means anti-abortion, anti-queer activist. And it defined like a huge part of who I was for like most of my life, to be honest with you. So yeah, no, I love to hear you saying that. I love it when people say these things. And I feel a little uncomfortable sharing my past, but it's important for people to understand. And so, for those of you who have harbored queerphobic and transphobic and all these other hateful sentiments, it's not too late. Like, you can change and grow out of it, and I encourage you to. That's why, like. When people are dicks or they just say stupid shit, like I call them out for it, but overall I don't mind having people who disagree here, and I want to engage people in discussion. Which, by the way, feel free to request to be a guest. I'm happy to have conversations, guys. But yeah, we can grow out of it. I hope that all of you that are transphobic right now grow out of it. We are all victims of a cis heteronormative society that has, to some degree, brainwashed all of us to be a little bit queerphobic and transphobic. So, we gotta be cool to people. Show Jesus' love to everybody. That's the way that I like it. Okay, queer. Yeah, I am a queer, but I think you're responding to somebody else. That might not have been a nice thing. I've asked 4 questions you haven't answered. Well, I've been busy talking. I can't keep up with this chat. I can only answer some questions. And right now, I'm still searching to see if we got an answer from Andy Semite, or whatever their name was. Scrolling. I'm looking hard for a direct answer to that question. I really don't think I'm going to find one. I don't know why I'm wasting my time. Yep, can't find it. It's just not there. You can keep saying you answered the question all you want to. I've looked at every single one of your comments, and not a single one of them answered the question. You're just a coward. You like saying shit that you think will hurt trans people, and you're unwilling to defend your position because it's indefensible. You're a coward, and you should be ashamed of yourself. If you the choice to change your gender, why don't I have the choice to disagree with you? I think what you mean is if I have the right to change my gender, why don't you have the right to disagree with me? You absolutely have the right to disagree with me. I would never dispute that. I don't know where that's coming from. Well, then TikTok must be deleting the on posting. Yeah, sure, Andy Samite, that's what's going on. Your ears are winging you. I got big ears. Again, Naman Illidan stepping in to call it Andy Semite, not letting him get away with it. You did not answer the host, and that's true. Do I care about sports? Not in particular. The only sport that I was ever really into, the only sports that I've ever really been into are combat sports. I love all of them. Every combat sport that I've ever seen I liked. But I never watch football, soccer, anything like that. Are you going to have surgery? So I definitely, I want top surgery and bottom surgery. It's just a matter of economics and being in a situation where I have the support structure in place to be able to do that. He's a hate-filled coward. His handle says it all. Andy Semite is projecting hard. He's self-loathing. Yeah, I mean, I don't know for sure if that's true, but I'm willing to bet that it probably is true because, I guess I shouldn't say that, but I know that a lot of my queer hatred in the past was as a result of personal self-loathing and projecting it out, so I wouldn't be surprised. That's often the case with these transphobes. There's a question up above I wanted to see. Oh, it wasn't a question. The Beer C, a trans femme who can use a sword, 10 out of 10. Oddly enough, there's a lot of us that are into swords. I got a sword here. Let me go grab my sword real quick. I have a lot of different kinds of weapons. A lot of them TikTok won't let me show here, but I can show a sword. That's no big deal. This is a sword that I really like. It's got the Celtic flayed man on it. It's not like a super high quality sword, but it's fun. I like it. It's got cool markings on it, and I dig the flayed man. So I have some heritage in that part of the world. So it's kind of cool to see it on there. So yeah, verified sword lesbian, except I'm not a lesbian, I'm bisexual. But pretty close, right? You need God. I don't really disagree with you. I do need God. Thankfully, I have found a way to God through Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. So that's cool. Why are we renaming the mental disorder of gender dysphoria with transgender? We aren't. You seem to be very confused. Gender dysphoria is something that all people experience. Transgender people experience it at higher rates than cis people on average, but everybody experiences gender dysphoria sometimes. Excuse me. Who would win if Khabib and Whitaker were same size? I don't know. So I haven't been following MMA for a whole lot lately, but Khabib hasn't been fighting for a while, right? Well, I guess Whitaker hasn't either. If we're talking about Forrest Whitaker, unless I'm just not remembering right or something has happened since I've been following. Okay, so in my head, my image of Khabib and my image of Forrest Whitaker, they're the same size. I mean, Khabib's going to just destroy this guy. Because the problem is, once Khabib holds on to you, you're not getting away. He's going to constrict and smash you until to where you're helpless, and you're getting limbs isolated, and your neck's exposed, and there's just nothing you can do. No one seems to have an answer to this man's ground abilities. And, it's just so easy to take a fight and turn it into a grappling situation, especially when you're motherfucking Khabib Nurmagomedov, or however you say his name. He retired. I don't know if he came back. Like I said, because I haven't been following MMA. But when Khabib retired, I think the reason he was doing that is because he was starting to become kind of like what the Gracie family in general was to MMA in the mid '90s, which is where they were the people to beat. The whole game was figuring out how to beat them. And if Khabib kept on like he was, the whole game of MMA was going to be about how to defeat him. And at that time, he was undefeatable, and so he stopped. And I don't think that Whitaker would have an answer to Khabib's just immense, depthful, and immense is just the best word for it. Immense grappling ability and knowledge. You guys don't ask me about MMA or combat sports, jiu-jitsu, any of that stuff, because that's all I'll talk about. I'm going to scroll way the fuck down. I've missed a lot of stuff because you asked me about MMA. Oh no, someone's asked me about another fight. Muhammad Ali or Bruce Lee? Well, Muhammad Ali was an actual fighter, so he would win. I'm sorry. I love Bruce Lee. I've learned a lot from Bruce Lee. I love his films. Muhammad Ali fought people for a living. So, easy answer for me. The world laughs at the UFC over it? Cool. USA is a joke. I love the country, I love the people, but the government of the USA is a joke. Is Jake Paul a real boxer? He seems to have boxing skills. He's probably better at boxing than I am. So yeah, sure, he's a real boxer. No, he's not a professional boxer. I wouldn't call him that. Why do you need straight people approval? I definitely don't. I only need straight cis het approval to the extent that my life depends on it. Mixed Cassandra, I missed you coming in. Glad to see you here. What's trans? Trans is short for transgender. I have a question. I think you mean question. How be pretty trans femme when I chubby? Well, being chubby doesn't stop you from being pretty. There's lots of chubby girls that I think are really pretty. So yeah, no, your weight has no effect on whether or not you can be pretty and present femme. If you don't feel pretty when you're trying to present femme, there's lots of things that you can do about that. If you have close friends who you think their fashion sense would kind of gel with yours, you can work with them. There's YouTube tutorials. If there's something specific you want to know how to do or you're having trouble with, and we're friends on here, or you can DM me, or if we're not friends, you can add me, and I'll probably add you back. We have a Discord community you can join, and there's probably lots of people that would love to help you with your presentation. So feel free to send me a message, and I can also give you a Discord link. Do I have a male or female body parts from birth? That's very interesting. So, did you know that most of the body parts that we have are the same whether or not you're male or female. There's only a few that are different. They are there, but there's only a few. To answer your question, I think what you're asking me is what kind of genitals I was born with. Let's be real. You're asking me about my boobies, and you're asking me about what's in my crotch. So you tried to ask the question in a different way, but that's really what you're asking me. It's a really personal and offensive question to ask that you don't normally just open up with. But I did say ask me anything, so I'll go ahead and answer you. I was born with a dick, and I still have one. I was not born with boobies, and now I have them. Does that help you? And why exactly did you want to know about that? That's what I'm really curious about. So how to identify between two sexes? Well, there's a lot of sex characteristics, so I guess we can just pull up the list. Here, I will literally pull up the list of how you can tell. I will give you the scientific answer, the genuine, real life answer to how you can tell what sex someone is. Are you guys ready for this? Okay. This is why we do this in front of my computer. So there are two types of sex characteristics. There are primary sex characteristics, and there are secondary sex characteristics. Male primary, well, this isn't going to be a good article because this is really long. Let's not use this. Pulling up two articles. I appreciate y'all's patience. Well, we're going to have to do it this way. We're going to have to start with secondary sex characteristics in order to get a good definition, because I'm just not finding any good articles that I can just pull up off the top of my head. So there's two types of sex characteristics, primary and secondary. Secondary sex characteristics are features that appear during puberty in humans and at sexual maturity in other animals. These characteristics are particularly evident in the sexually dimorphic phenotypic traits that distinguish sexes of a species, but unlike sex organs, which are an example of primary sex characteristics, they are not directly part of the reproductive system. Secondary sex characteristics are believed to be the product of sexual selection for traits which display fitness, giving an organism an advantage over its rivals in courtship and in aggressive interactions. Secondary sex characteristics include, for example, the manes of male lions, the bright facial and rump coloration of male mandrills. Alright, is it going to talk about humans? It's not going to talk about... Oh, it does, okay. In humans, visible secondary sex characteristics include enlarged breasts and widened hips of females, facial hair and Adam's apples on males, and pubic hair on both. So here's how to answer your question. The way that you determine someone's sex is you look at their primary and secondary sex characteristics. You can look at their chromosomes, and that gives you a strong clues as to what somebody's sex are, but oftentimes people's sex characteristics don't match what you would expect from their chromosomes. So in reality, what people use to determine sex is they look at these sex characteristics. So they look at the primary sex characteristics, which are things primarily having to do with reproductive systems, and then they look at secondary sex characteristics, which are things that develop over time. So people often like to tell me, hey, you can't change your sex, which is a very interesting thing to say, because I have changed many of my sex characteristics. I've definitely changed many of my secondary sex characteristics. My breasts are larger, my hips are wider, my body fat and muscles are distributed differently, all these different things, right? And maybe one day I'll be changing those primary sex characteristics too. Maybe one day I'm going to change the kind of genitals that I have. So people like to come in and say, hey, you can't change your sex. But if you can change your secondary sex characteristics so easily, and if you can change your primary sex characteristics, I don't know. To me, that kind of sounds like changing your sex. I don't know what you guys think, but whatever. How many other mammals use spoon and fork? I haven't seen too many. Respectfully, how do you expect a cis woman to be comfortable with you in a stall next to mine GMAB? I don't know what GMAB means. I have never seen a cis woman appear to be uncomfortable when I've been in the bathroom. Literally never had any problems at all. I hear a lot of people saying that they would expect women to be uncomfortable, cis women to be uncomfortable with it. Never seen it myself, and I pee all the time, so I don't know. Don't you think that mental illness has everything to do with all of this? Well, considering I'm on here saying that I'm trans and not inviting people to ask me anything about it, obviously that's probably not my position. Do you care to tell me why you believe that mental illness has to do with all of this, and how mental illness plays into being trans? I would be interested to hear your opinion. Do you think bio men should be able to compete in women's sports? I don't know what you mean by bio men. Perhaps you mean trans women. So if the question is, should trans women be competing in women's sports, the answer is yes, but it's a little more complicated than that, because it depends on the sport and it depends on the individual case, I think. So what happens in most sports is there's some sort of governing body that determines at what point in transition it would be appropriate for a transgender woman to compete in the women's division. And most of those organizations say that you have to have been on HRT for like a couple of years, and then you have to submit to a hormone test to make sure that your hormone levels, like your testosterone level specifically, is below average of what it would be for a cis woman. And the vast majority of the time when they do that, they find that the trans athletes' testosterone levels are way lower than average for cis women. So most trans people that are competing, there's no advantage there at all. There's a disadvantage because their testosterone is actually lower than most of the cis women they're competing against. And so that seems to be the right way to do that, because it is dependent on the individual sport. Like, maybe there needs to be higher standards for MMA. Maybe you have to have been on hormone replacement therapy for a longer amount of time, because that sport involves like intentionally doing damage on your opponent, things like that. So I think that it should be up to the governing bodies of the sport. I think they should be using scientific and objective means to do it. That's my answer to that question. Present hormone levels don't matter. It's the bone density and muscle fiber that's fiber accumulated. So there is literally no reason to think that that bone density and muscle fibers and that sort of thing don't degrade with hormone replacement therapy for trans femmes. And in fact, there's a whole lot of research that says that it does. Our bones do change to be more like the bones of cis women. And it doesn't matter what's accumulated, those changes happen rapidly, because when you're on hormone replacement therapy, you're on extremely high doses of those drugs. Well, at the very least, you're on a high dose of whatever version of estrogen that you're taking. So in my case, it's estradiol. And then spironolactone is the testosterone blocker that I take, and Spiro is very aggressive in blocking testosterone. And so it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to be a dramatic difference where your hormones go way further than most cis women, because you've already gone through male puberty, and so you need more of that hormone work to change your body. And it does change your body extremely rapidly. It does make your bones weaker. It does make your muscles weaker, all of that. So all of the objective scientific information that we have actually says that hormone replacement therapy puts trans women on par with cis women. There's not a lot of research, but all the research so far seems to indicate that. There isn't any research to indicate otherwise. So since all of the objective research says that trans women don't have an advantage over cis women after they've been on hormone replacement therapy for a certain amount of time, that's the answer. That's the obvious answer. It's the only one with any kind of objective basis. It isn't based on emotions and fear. If you guys are interested in this subject, by the way, today's Sunday. Tomorrow, here on TikTok Live, I'm going to be interviewing Lady Bree, who is a former professional MMA fighter and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who competed after transitioning. And we're going to talk about her experiences. We're going to talk about her thoughts on trans women competing in sports and MMA. She actually has different opinions than I do. Her and I are going to disagree a little bit, especially when it comes to MMA, I think. So yeah, make sure you come. It's scheduled for 1 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. Myself and Lady Bree, former professional MMA fighter, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, total badass. She is also a Call of Duty Warzone streamer. So really looking forward to that conversation. Hope you guys show up for it. Why don't you talk about how it shortens your life taking these hormones? Well, unfortunately, there isn't actually, well, fortunately rather, there isn't evidence to say that taking hormones itself would shorten anybody's life. There's no evidence of that. It is true that trans people have a shorter than average life expectancy, but when you parse the data out, it's because of things like depression, anxiety, discrimination, those sorts of things, which are a result of how people react to us being our authentic self, not the hormones themselves. Most trans people will tell you that hormones save their lives and stabilize their mental health, and certainly that's the case with me. What happened in my ears? Nothing happened. Well, actually, maybe you're referring to the fact that they look swollen. That's from doing a lot of grappling. It does nasty things to your ears. Depression, anxiety, sounds like mental illness. Yeah, depression and anxiety are mental illnesses. That's true. Trans people also get depressed and anxious, just like cis people do. Besides liking a feminine appearance, let me go back up. Besides liking a feminine appearance, what makes you think you identify with us? Well, I don't know who us is. I assume you mean with women? That's a weird way to phrase it. I wouldn't say that I identify with women. That's not something I would even say. I just am a woman. Yeah, everything about me is not like a guy at all. There's nothing about me that's manly or anything like that. I don't understand the question. Maybe you can rephrase the question and I'll understand exactly what you're asking better. You're probably just asking in bad faith, but I'm trying to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that you're asking in good faith. So could you please reword the question? But why though, guys? Am I part of the orchestra? I don't know what you mean by that. Feminine appearance equals fertility. I can tell you from personal experience that that's not true. And if you want to know what I mean by that, I will let your imaginations figure that out. Question. How do you this based? Are you asking me how am I this based? I don't know. I'm just naturally fucking based as shit. What informs your womanhood? I also don't understand that question. So when I think like what informs your something, maybe you're asking what informs my idea of what a woman is? I guess like the existence of women throughout human civilization. I've seen that that's a thing, and I'm like, yo, that's me. Is that an answer to your question? Do you identify as an elf? No, I identify as a Mikote. My eyebrows are manly. Oh, well, I like to think my eyebrows are powerful. Women do not equal fertility. That's the truth. Yeah, what in the fucking world? And, there's two sides to the fertility equation, too. There are men who are also infertile. So if femininity equals fertility, then is a feminine man the most fertile kind of man? I mean, I'd be down for that. Look, science may say that I can't get pregnant, but that's not going to stop me from trying. And I like feminine dudes, so if that's the way to go, if that's what you're telling me, I'm going to follow your instructions. I'll report back. I know you want to hear about this experiment, so I'll report back with the results. What are you talking about the orchestra? I believe at the root of this there's a childhood trauma expanded into mental illness. Well, that's a fascinating opinion that you have no reason to believe. You notice whenever I give an opinion, I always give justifications and reasoning, sometimes facts and statistics, and then you all say things like, I believe that this is childhood trauma, and fail to elaborate. You have no Oh, you're talking to someone else. I gotcha. Everyone be careful when talking to these people. They will lie and get your account banned. Yeah, you gotta be careful with people like me. We might lie and get your account banned. Though in reality, I'm the one that gets all the consequences when you guys act up. So TikTok looks at what's in these lives, and sometimes they shut them down because you guys are out of control. Masculine women are valid. Excuse me. Damn. Gas. Sorry. Masculine women are valid. Oh, this is but why though, guys, again. Why do you think not liking masculine things equals womanhood? I don't think that, and I never said that. It's strange. Like, I'll say something, I'll give you a response to what you're saying, I'll answer your question, and then you just, like, ignore what I say and ask me to defend something else that I didn't say. I think what you're doing is you're inferring and assuming things about other positions by how I answer your question on a certain position. That's just not how it works, though. You can't make assumptions about the other person. You're never going to get to the truth that way. If you don't identify with women, how can you be one? I'm just saying that identifying with women isn't how I would put it. I would put it as I identify as a woman. But I do identify far more with most women than I do with most men, if that's what you're asking. I love masked women, me too. Nothing like it. Your deception doesn't work on the majority of people. Yeah, I really need to bump up my speech stat. I need to, I have that Dragon Souls for Perks mod installed, so I need to go kill some more dragons so I can up my speech skill. That way my deception will work on the majority of people now. Man, everyone here is dumb as fuck. Let her be her, LMAO. Sometimes I feel like saying everyone's just dumb as fuck too, but I try to remember that we are all victims of a cis-het normative society that teaches us to think a certain way about these things, to think about a certain way about these things, and then also people have their own individual upbringings that influence this, and a lot of people have repressed their transness or their queerness, and that comes out. So I try to be charitable and say that these people aren't all dumb or necessarily hateful, though let's be real, a lot of times that's what it is. But I like to think about the fact that some of them are like closeted and they're lashing out because that's very emotionally painful for them, and that some of them, this is really a result of a lifelong of brainwashing, and you can't really be expected to just overcome that overnight, you know. Let's go to the bottom. I've missed a lot of messages. Chat's been going fast and furious, and I love it. Doggy Mama says, hello, honey. Well, hello, Doggy Mama. It's good to see you here. Nature and evolution doesn't care about the weak. How is that relevant to this discussion? Let me ask you, Mark Titan Forever, are you a social Darwinist? Can you please tell us yes or no if you're a social Darwinist? I'm very curious to know the answer. Naman Elidin, standing up for me nonstop. I really appreciate it. You're working overtime, buddy. I appreciate your help. Definitely send me a message if you want to join the Discord, Naaman. Am I a Jedi or a Stormtrooper? Oh, that's tough for me. I grew up watching the original trilogy. I used to watch. I didn't have summer breaks in elementary school. We had like a quarterly system where we had like 3 months off but they were like separated. And when I would have my month off, I would watch one Star Wars movie from the original trilogy every single day that I was out of school. And then I would watch them all the time. And when I was watching the original trilogies, I always just thought the Empire looked so cool that like I wanted to be part of the Empire, right? But now, like, well, now we have Andor. Andor was like the best Star Wars thing ever made, if you ask me. Incredible TV series. I highly identified with the message and the characters in that series, and it made me want to be a rebel. I was like, I don't care if I'm going to be one of these dudes who's like a main character and just casually just fucking dies on screen and nobody even talks about it because there's just so much horrific death and trauma in the show that they literally don't have time to address it. Like, those people go through some fucking shit and they still keep fighting anyway. And like, that show is so effective at communicating that like anti-fascist revolutionary message that I was like, yeah, if that was me, if I lived in that town, I wouldn't give a fuck. I would be out there on that day too. I'd be marching with them. And if I was the only one that knew how to make that bomb and throw it at that speeder, I would have done it. And if I just had to be in that crowd and get shot at by the stormtroopers, that's the risk I would take to fight back. Like, so yeah, I think the answer is I would be a Jedi. But that has changed recently because I dig the stormtrooper aesthetic. Did you get your male body part removed? You mean that extra rib? Yeah, I got it removed. I gave it to someone else. Which direction are got even transitioning lol? Thank you, Bishop P. Grant. I hope Bishop is like your first name and not a title. Because you should not be in charge of a congregation of churchgoers if you can't put together a sentence like that. You need to be competent in the language of your parishioners in order to be an effective pastor. And saying which direction are got even transitioning lol, it makes me, if you really are a bishop, it makes me very concerned for your congregation. Do you automatically dislike Christians? Not automatically, I mean almost. But I'm a Christian, you know. So I know that there are Christians that aren't hateful assholes, you know. I was at two separate churches yesterday, that were supportive of the queer community. One of which was actually hosting a drag queen story hour. So no, I don't automatically hate Christians. I am a Christian. But you know, there was a poll done. I don't remember when it was. I think it was in the early 2000s, and they asked people like, when you hear the word Christian, what is the first word that you associate with it? And something like 40% of people said anti-gay. So if half the country, with the first thing they think of when they hear the word Christian is anti-gay, there's a problem there. And that's why so many people reflexively have a negative reaction to Christianity. Alright, I'm way behind on questions again. I don't know how much longer we'll go. We'll go a little while longer. I'm having a good time today. I don't agree with trans, but I don't hate. To each their own. What do you mean by you don't agree with trans? Does it bother... I guess you mean, does it bother you when people accidentally call you sir? It just depends on the context. Genuine accidents happen sometimes, and that doesn't bother me at all. And then when people do it on purpose just to try to hurt me, that doesn't really bother me either, because it just like, I can see right through it, right? And I don't care. I don't really care I don't care about the opinions of people that hate me. The only times I guess it really bothers me is when I can notice something about myself that I think caused that person to make the mistake. So, like, maybe it's a day where, like, I didn't have time to shave before leaving, and I'm like, fuck, and I just feel like I have, like, all this gross facial hair, and then it happens, and like I'm expecting it to happen because of that, and then it happens, and that can be a really unpleasant experience. But like for instance, when people come onto these lives and call me sir, that doesn't bother me. Like that's just what I'm signing up for by existing as a trans woman on the internet. Or like when somebody who knew me my whole life, before transition, and they accidentally call me he or whatever, and there's like, oh, I'm sorry. That doesn't bother me. I don't really give a shit about that. I do that. Trans people misgender people too. Think about it. Trans people know a lot of other trans people. I know a lot of motherfuckers with neopronouns. I know a lot of motherfuckers who will have one set of neopronouns, and then, maybe 6 months later, I learned that they've changed their pronouns. So obviously, sometimes I'm going to accidentally misgender my friends. It happens. And when it happens, I just say, oh, I'm sorry, and I move on. That's all that anybody else needs to do. Misgendering people is just kind of a normal part of life. You just say you're sorry and move on. It's not complicated. Oh, I'm sorry if I'm not following up with people. This chat's just moving too fast. No BS, what does it mean to be transgender? I feel like everyone has their own definition. Well, maybe some people do have their own definition, but I think the standard definition is somebody whose gender is different than the one assigned to them at birth. Have you had the operations to change your physical looks? Well, there's lots of operations to change your physical looks, but I haven't had any gender-affirming surgeries, if that's what you're asking. If a doctor assisted you in transition, they should have their license revoked. That's an interesting opinion. Unfortunately, it seems like a lot of lawmakers share your opinion and are trying to enshrine that in law. So you may have your way soon. Am I on hormones? Yes, I am. I am on estradiol, which is the form of estrogen, and I am on spironolactone, which is a testosterone blocker. Have I felt any physical pain after transition? Well, I guess you mean as a result of transition. The physical pain that I experience as a result of transition all comes in the form of the girls. So when your boobs grow, it hurts. It hurts when cis women's boobs grow. It hurts when trans women's boobs grow. That's about it. Try bumping one of those motherfuckers against a corner. It's not fun. What does your meds cost you after insurance? Oh, well, all of my meds. I take a lot of different meds, some of which aren't covered by... I have Medicaid, and Medicaid doesn't cover everything. I think it costs probably around $300 to $400 a month for everything. All I can say is I'm praying for you. Well, I guess I should say thank you, but I imagine you probably don't mean that in a particularly nice way. I hate being called cis, I'm a woman. Well, you understand that there's different kinds of women, right? So, you are a woman, I believe you when you say that. And there are different types of women. There are cis women, which just means that you're a woman who was assigned female at birth and continues to identify as a woman. And then there are trans women who were not assigned female at birth but identify as a woman. It's not complicated. So I don't disagree. You are a woman. But you are also a cis woman, because that is one of the many types of women. Other types of women. Here, let me list many types of women. Fat women, skinny women, tall women, short women, dumb women, smart women, many different kinds of women. Cis is just one of the descriptions that you can put before the word woman to describe a type of woman. So congratulations, I agree, you're a woman. We agreed on something, isn't that great? Wow, amazing. What does my father think? Well, yeah, lots of trans people, their parents ditch them after coming out, don't they? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? To answer your question directly, I no longer have a relationship with my father. But do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? Not having gone through surgery, how do you feel about using the women's bathroom and others' point of view on it? I don't understand how that has anything to do with it at all. Nobody's looking at my genitals when I take a piss. When I go into the bathroom, maybe you haven't been in a women's bathroom before, but every single stall in a women's bathroom has a door on it. And you close that door, and nobody sees what you're doing in there. And all I'm doing is the same thing that cis women are doing. My parts just look different. Nobody sees my parts. I'm not coming through the bathroom door and just ripping my pants off and walking around with my dick hanging out. Nobody does that in any bathroom. People don't even do that in men's bathrooms. And people do gross fucking shit in men's bathrooms. What the fuck do you guys think? How in the world would what my genitals are have any effect on how I use the bathroom and how people perceive me in the bathroom? Do you think people are like crawling into the stall and like inspecting my genitals? For real, like I want someone to explain this to me. Can someone please explain how my genitals being different would inherently change the bathroom experience for those around me? Please, I'm begging you to explain this to me. I don't care what anyone does, but don't appreciate the slur. I think what you're talking about when you say the slur is cis. Calling cis a slur is a stupid-ass thing to say. It's horrendously offensive because slurs actually hurt people, and the term cis doesn't hurt anybody. It's just an accurate description. If your sense of femininity is so fragile that you can't handle being called a cis woman, then maybe you should reevaluate things. Reading through. What about the gap in the stall door? What? Do you usually like go to that little gap and like look through it and try to see what genitals people have? If so, that says more about you than it does about me. What about the little gap in the door? What, like legit, what is your question about that gap? What the fuck are you talking about? My question is, are you healthy? That's what matters. Yeah, my health is better than it's been in a long time, I suppose. Thank you for asking. For real, don't mind the gap. Yeah, for real. Don't look at the fucking gap in the bathroom stall, guys. If you're finding yourselves looking at that little gap in the bathroom stall, please reevaluate your actions. Just reevaluate your life in general and seek therapy. That's not good. That's not a good thing to do, and that makes me worried for your mental state. Should trans be allowed to fight in sports with the gender they identify? That's a confusingly put together statement. So most sports don't involve fighting. Some do. And I suppose there is a meaningful difference between the two types of sports, and that might change whether or not, or when, like, say, trans women should be allowed to compete against women in those sports. But we just had a really long conversation about this, and we're not going to go into it again today. We are, however, going to go into it tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm going to be interviewing Lady Bree at 1 p.m. Central Time. Lady Bree is a former professional MMA fighter and a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt who, after transitioning, continued to compete in the sport of MMA as a professional. So she's going to be talking to us, and she actually has a different perspective on this issue than I do. She's going to disagree with me a little bit. We're going to have a conversation about that. We're going to have a conversation about her experiences as being a gender non-conforming person in the combat sports world. So I'm done talking about that particular subject today, but if you are interested in it, make sure that you check me out tomorrow at 1 p.m. because I'm going to be talking with somebody who actually has experience in it. I want to... What does that mean? I want to oil the pitch and even the playing field. What the fuck are you talking about? Why do you feel culture isn't as adoptable... isn't as adoptable as gender? I'm going to try to be as fair as possible and try to make sense of this statement. Reconstruct it in a way that makes... or this question. Reconstruct it in a way that makes sense. Why do you feel culture isn't as adoptable as gender? Maybe you mean adaptable. Like, why, if gender is so adaptable, why isn't culture at large adaptable enough to accept different gender identities? Maybe that's your question. And the reason is because there's a lot of institutional powers that are resistant to the implications of trans people being themselves and that sort of thing. So a good example would be the church. So not all churches, but many churches for a long time have been saying that the gender binary is taught in the Bible, that is integral to the plot of the Bible, and essentially if the gender binary is shown to be not true, then their version of what they say the Bible teaches, it casts doubt on that. And so because of that, they have a vested interest in making sure that trans people aren't seen as legitimate. And so for many, many, many decades, they've been influencing education, politics, media, their own people, society, everything like that, to otherize trans people. And that's just one example. There's many institutions. The church is just one example. So I hope that answers your question. I'm in my 80s and you're a cutie pie. Oh, I bet you're a cutie pie too. Ryan73335, not a very nice thing to say, but it is very funny, so I'm going to read it out, says, oh no, I misunderstood what they were saying, never mind, it's not that funny. If when people adopt, I think this is a follow-up to what I was answering earlier. If when people adopt culture, it's cultural appropriation, why don't we apply this to gender? I don't think that you understand what cultural appropriation is. Here, let me look up a good definition for cultural appropriation. Cultural appropriation can include exploitation of another culture's religious and cultural traditions, dance steps, fashion, symbols, language, and music. Key word there is exploit. So here, let's just look up the definition of exploit. I want to get these terms right, because if I get any little bit wrong, y'all are going to call me out on it. The definition of exploit is to make full use of and derive benefit from a resource, usually a resource that does not belong to you. So this is not a case of exploitation. There's nothing being exploited here. I'm simply saying that I share the same identity as you. I'm not exploiting anything. So there's nothing being appropriated. Cultural appropriation is exploiting cultural objects and artifacts and actions and things like that. I'm not taking life lessons from someone I wouldn't let walk my dog. That's probably a good plan. I'm a good dog walker, though. Just keep being yourself, girl. Ignorance is flying through this chat. It sure is. And I'm getting a little tired of standing in front of this light. It's making it hard for me to read and, put these sentences together, so I don't have too much longer here. But I appreciate all the support. I appreciate all the questions. Oh, you have another question. Another anti-social witches club question. Or did I already answer it? Yeah, I did. I already answered it. Someone responded, gender is literally a society thing. Culture is based I think they mean on history and input. Hey, we have a live request. I did say that we would take a guest. We'll give it a shot. Let's see how it goes. Oh, they withdrew. That's okay. I'm happy to bring on a guest or two before we go. In the Bible, who was Adam's first wife? So far as I'm aware, Adam's first wife was Eve. Is that what you mean? If when people adopt culture... Oh, we already did that. I already answered that question. People gatekeep anything these days, even gender identity. So true. So true. Hate to see it. As a young trans, will you serve in the Army? Look, I know I'm really, really hot, but I'm actually not young. I'm like 35 years old. So I'm too old to be drafted or whatever. I think Trump banned me from the military, which I'm not a big Trump fan, but fucking based. Please ban me from the military. I don't want anything to do with that shit. Joe Biden might have unbanned me, and if so, he needs to go back and fix that shit. Joe, what the fuck are you thinking? What the fuck, Joe Brandon? I don't want to be in the Army. I don't want any of my trans homies to be in the Army. The military sucks. The government sucks. Joe Brandon sucks. I mean, Trump's a bad guy. Trump's worse. But at least he banned me from the military. That's pretty fucking based, right? Oh, I gotta scroll to the bottom. Biden says I can fight. Motherfucker! Damn it! Oh, what the fuck, Biden? Joe, you're supposed to be our guy. That's not true. I knew he wasn't our guy from the beginning. Apache helicopter is my identification. Please respect my identity. Okay, buddy. Biden gave you all your pills. Biden didn't give me shit. I wish Biden would fucking move some obstacles out of my way because there are lots of healthcare that I would like to access that I'm not able to, and Biden could do something about it, but he won't. Biden's a little pussy-ass bitch. That's my opinion on Biden. How does my menstrual cycle work? Well, obviously I don't have one. Please tell me that you respect my false reality like you're asking people to respect yours. I'm not asking people to respect my false reality. I'm participating in consensus reality, actually. By denying the existence of trans people, you're the one rejecting consensus reality. If an archaeological... Oh my god, no! No! Wait, what? Holy shit! Page Gorilla? Oh no! Oh no, guys! Guys, I've been defeated. I'm not trans. I'm not a woman. Look. Paid Gorilla exposed me. They said, if an archaeologist digs up your body in 150 years, what will your DNA define you as? Guys, in 150 years, archaeologists are going to dig me up, and they're going to find fossils, and they probably can't get DNA from it. But if they can, they're going to get the DNA, and they're going to look at the pronoun gene, and figure out what pronouns, that my pronouns aren't right because they're looking at my pronoun gene and it says something else. No, my pronoun genes, no! Bro, is this really what you think? You really think that you're going to convince people that, like, trans people don't exist by saying in 150 years some archaeologist is going to dig you up and look at your DNA? Oh my god. Oh my god. There's no such thing as a pronoun gene. Yes, exactly. That was the joke. Not the pronoun genes! I know, right? Well, a funny thing about pronoun genes. So in North Dakota recently they introduced a bill that would make it illegal to refer to anything by pronouns other than the ones determined by their deoxyribose nucleic acid. There's an actual quotation from the bill. That bill did not pass. That actually got killed, I think, yesterday. Maybe today. Maybe Friday. Whatever. Just very recently that bill got killed, thank God. But there was legit a bill, not South Dakota, in North Dakota, that would make it illegal. Basically, you had to use the pronouns that are determined by somebody's DNA, whatever the fuck that means. They just suggest any bills these days. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a thing that's been going on for a long time, but they're really stretching and finding some interesting legislation to push in order to make life difficult for queer people, aren't they? They're really getting creative. So just because it's not normal for me to identify as an Apache helicopter, it's wrong. I don't think that it's wrong for you to identify as a helicopter. I just don't believe you. Because identifying as an Apache helicopter, attack helicopter, is a meme that people use. It's a transphobic meme. So I just don't believe you. Archaeologists will look back and say, was this a transformer? I like that. Maybe I am a transformer. You never know. Transformers are robots in disguise. You don't know what's under the skin. Bring back bullying. Why do you like bullying so much? Oh, we got another banger from Buffy Divine. The same person who thinks that being called cis is a slur. You're male presenting female. I respect that. Body dysmorphia. But don't call me cis for being natural. Okay, let me explain this to you one more time. A slur is something that you use to insult people, especially a group of people, especially a marginalized group of people. Cis is a description. It's not a slur. It describes one of many types of women. I don't know why this bothers you so much. Why are you so worried about people calling you a cis woman? Would you rather people call you a trans woman? I don't get it. Cis literally just means not trans. Aren't you not trans? Or are you trans? Is the reason you don't want to be called cis because you're trans? Come on here. What's wrong with be calling you cis? As far as I know, from what you seem to be saying, it sounds like it's accurate. Buffy Divine Cis is literally an identification. Thank you. That's true. So true. Cis is a medical term? Yeah, it can be. It's a term that's used in a lot of different settings, including medical settings. Trapped is also a description. Well, thank you. I am a woman. I am a woman too. Yay! Let's all be women together. Is your favorite car a Trans Am? What's my favorite car? What's the gayest car? That's the question. Whatever the gayest car is, that's what car I am. Back when I was like a kid, I always thought the gay car, like Miatas, were gay. Because I just knew like a lot of really effeminate rich dudes who owned Miatas. But that's probably outdated. I don't know what the current gay car is. I think the main gay car nowadays is just some cheap beater because most of us can't drive for shit and are broke. So that's my favorite kind of car. The kind that barely works because it's one of my queer homies giving me a ride somewhere, and they are also broke and bad at driving. A pink Volkswagen. That would be pretty gay. I do wish I had a pink Volkswagen. I'm brave for coming out as an Apache helicopter. So true. So brave. Brave and stunning. Yeah, I would put you on the cover of a magazine if I could. Couldn't make it as a man? Hey, that's true. You'll get no argument from me there. Why can you pick your own labels, but she can't pick hers? Maybe you're talking to somebody else. Honest question. What do you think being a woman means? Being a woman means you're a woman? Am I misunderstanding your question? Are you asking me to define woman? Because that's a different question. If that's what you're asking, go ahead and ask it. A big rainbow monster truck, a divorce settlement worth of chrome on it. Oh, is that what you're saying is a really gay car? Let me reread that. A big rainbow monster truck, a divorce settlement worth of chrome on it. I suppose in a way that is pretty gay, huh? That's very reflective of a certain aspect of gay culture. Thoughts on Uzbekistan? I don't know. What's going on in Uzbekistan? Let's look that up. Is there something going on? Plane from Russia to Goa makes emergency landing in Uzbekistan after bomb threat. Huh. The Russian embassy said no dangerous substances were found aboard the flight and it will resume its journey to India, or at India time 1:30 a.m. We received a threat and quickly informed the airline the plane was yet to enter into Indian airspace and was diverted. I don't know anything about this or what the motivations were behind this or anything. I don't really have any thoughts about it. This is the first I'm hearing about it. Do I believe in Jesus? Yes, I do. I believe. Do I believe in Jesus? Yes, I do. I believe in Jesus. How about you? That was a theme that we had to sing in Awanas. Awanas is bad. Don't put your kids in Awanas. That shit's fucking gross. But yeah, I believe in Jesus. Your label is still a helicopter. Well, very good. Well, good for you. I'm happy for you that you found an identity that works for you. It's exhausting to be alive. I'm sorry, dear. Cis isn't a pronoun. It's a way to define a person who isn't transgender. Yes, exactly. Cis literally just means not transgender. So I don't know why you're getting so offended by this. Unless you're transgender. If that's the reason why, just say so. But if that was the case, I'm sure you would have just said that by now. Would you rather me start calling you a trans woman? If you want to, I can start, Buffy, I can start calling you a trans woman. God created you through a woman, so there's an answer. I don't understand that. Enough of the nonsense, folks. Don't forget to support Ban the Trans. Oh, okay. Save the innocents. Why do you want to ban the trans? People keep asking why I'm on Medicaid. Why are you so curious to know? So you believe God makes mistakes? Not really. Do you? I gotta scroll down to the bottom. Is this my whole personality? No, it's just about 30% of it. It's a free country. You can be whatever the hell you want to be. And even if it's not really a free country, I would dispute that. But you can be whoever you want to be. I agree. That's a human right. Every single human has that right. Cis isn't necessary. There is woman and a trans woman. So a trans woman is a type of woman, right? So when you say woman, it's not clear if you're referring to a trans woman. So when you're referring to a trans woman, sometimes you say that, trans woman. When you refer to a woman, it's not always clear that you're referring to a cis woman. So sometimes you say cis woman. It just depends on the context. I've been going for a while, guys. This has been real. So just a quick reminder, last time I'm going to mention it, but 1 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. Oh, there's a guest request, and I said I would take a guest. Okay, we'll do one guest. Ivist. Brace yourself. Not Ivist, can you hear us and see us?
I can.
Okay, well, we can hear you okay.
Perfect.
What are your pronouns, or how do you want me to refer to you?
You can call me whatever you want. So I just have one
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you Ivist. What's up?
You got it. So I just have one question. Do you believe in God? Do you believe that God exists?
Yes, I do.
You do. That's interesting. So my question to you is, why do you think that so many transgender people, besides religious, I know religious trauma is such a prominent issue. Why do you believe in God when I would say, I don't know if majority is the correct answer, but a large amount of transgender people despise God?
Yeah, you're right. A lot. Well, I wouldn't necessarily say a lot of transgender people despise God. Definitely a lot of transgender people despise religion. And
Okay.
you said, going past religious trauma, but I do think that's the primary reason why so many transgender people despise religion. It is because of rather religious trauma.
But you don't have any religious trauma? Are you religious?
I am religious, and I certainly do have religious trauma.
So interesting. So why do you think it didn't affect you? Why do you think you still believe in God?
It did affect me. It affected me quite a lot. Yeah, like my religious beliefs are far different than they used to be. So some trans people just. So you may have noticed that conversation ended rather abruptly, which is really too bad. I was pretty excited to have that conversation, to be honest. I was really interested to see where it was going to go. But this happens kind of a lot, where TikTok will end my lives as they're occurring, and they will say the reason they're doing it is because I'm engaging in hateful
behavior or hate speech or something like that, which is of course not true. When this happens, TikTok will often shut down the live as it's in progress, and then I will lose access to the recording without any ability to appeal. This has happened 3 or 4 times to me before, and this is happening to a lot of creators on TikTok, especially creators that do a lot of lives and that do sort of controversial lives. So this has been happening to us a lot. It is a threat to the channel. The best thing that you can do to help me with it is to try to make sure to follow me on all of my platforms: YouTube, Twitch, TikTok. Those are the main ones, I guess. And then, so if something happens to one of these channels, you can find me on the other ones and we can kind of rebuild. Hopefully that doesn't happen. In this case, I was given the ability to appeal, unlike the other times, and the appeal was successful. I got the ability to go live back. They actually took the ability to go live away from me, said I wasn't going to be able to do that anymore. They restored that after the appeal. They also restored the recording. That's why I was able to make this video. So I'm really grateful that that happened, but it was scary that my ability to live was taken away from me entirely when I hadn't done anything wrong. And like I said, I'm not the only person facing this problem. This is happening all over TikTok. But I wanted to give just a brief explanation for why that ended so early. I really hope that guest will come back again. I would like to continue that conversation. And I just hate ending things on a note like that. So I just wanted to come here and explain it. I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube videos. If you like them, please like, subscribe, leave comments, share them, that sort of thing. And also check out my other platforms like I mentioned. I love you guys. Thank you so much for letting me do this. Bye.